Do you believe in coincidences or signs? On the morning of September 11th, 2001, lives were forever changed by seemingly small decisions. Grabbing a coffee outside the usual routine, listening to a voice in a dream, feeling a chill with no explanation. What saved these people? Luck, intuition, or something far greater than we can understand? Get ready to hear 7 real and supernatural stories that unfolded on the most tragic day in modern history. Stories from those who survived, and those who came back to share what they saw on the other side. If you're drawn to powerful, mysterious stories like these, subscribe to the channel, hit the like button, and turn on the notification bell, because here, every detail matters. And by the end of this video, you might start hearing what the world is trying to tell you. Story 1. The Coffee Decision, Extended Version. Boston, Tuesday, September 11th, 2001. The sky was clear. The city woke up like any other day. Rushing cars, distant horns, hurried footsteps on concrete. Laura, a data analyst, was meticulous by nature. She was 29, worked on the 83rd floor of the World Trade Center, and kept an unbreakable routine. 7:40 subway, 8:30 at her desk. No delays, no detours. But that morning, something felt off. She woke up with a mild headache. A strange pressure, like she'd been pulled out of a dream too soon. She felt disoriented, out of place. And then, for no particular reason, she did something she never did on a weekday. Just today, she thought, I'll stop for coffee. She walked 2 blocks out of her way to the Starbucks. Just a few minutes delay, but enough to change everything. At 8:46 a.m., as she waited for her drink, the sound hit. It wasn't a normal boom. It was sharp, metallic, a blast that shook the cafe windows. The ground trembled beneath her. She turned around and saw smoke rising in the distance. Screams, sirens, people running. The building she worked in had been hit. In the days that followed, Laura was in shock. She had survived, but dozens of her co-workers hadn't. Her entire office was gone. The TV showed endless replays of the impact, the rubble, the 911 calls. But what haunted her wasn't the footage. It was the question, why did I change my routine? No logical reason, no vision, no warning, just a feeling that morning. Then came the coincidences. On the second day after the attacks, she saw a man standing on the same corner outside the cafe. Black suit, hat, still, staring at the entrance. She thought it was strange, but ignored it. Third day, he was there again. Same spot, same time. He didn't speak, didn't move, just watched. On the 4th day, he was gone. But on the bench where he used to sit, there was a napkin, folded. On it, one handwritten word. You listened. That night, the dreams began. Vivid, lucid. She saw her co-workers who didn't make it, in white rooms sitting calmly, staring at her. One of them, Mark, the guy who used to grab coffee with her every morning, said, "It was the coffee. You chose to listen." In another dream, she walked a dark hallway. The sound of a coffee machine dripping echoed around her. She reached a door. Behind it, silence. She opened it and woke up gasping, eyes full of tears. She started researching, found others who'd survived that day thanks to small changes. A traffic jam, a missed alarm, a slow checkout line. And in several of those stories, a figure, a man in a suit, described with eerie consistency. He didn't show up on cameras. No one else seemed to see him, but he left clues. Short words, brief messages, subtle signs. Months later, Laura tried to move on. New job, new building, but the signs followed. One morning, the elevator stalled at exactly 8:30 a.m. Another day, she opened a meeting room door and found a hot coffee waiting. No one had been there. Sometimes, she'd hear whispers in the air vents. Listen, go back. You know. She sought help, churches, therapists, mediums. No clear answers, only theories. Residual energy, protective spirits, voices from the other side. Today, Laura lives in a small town, far from any skyscrapers, She doesn't go to coffee shops anymore. And every morning, before doing anything else, she says thank you out loud. Above the door of her home hangs a framed napkin. It reads, "You listened." She shares her story not to scare, but to remind. Sometimes what feels like a detour is actually direction. And the world, it whispers, but only a few choose to listen. Story 2. The Door He Should Never Have Opened, extended version. New York City, September 11th, 2001. David never believed in fate. He was the kind of man who trusted logic, numbers, the comfort of routine. He'd worked in the North Tower for 7 years. Same floor, same coffee, same route. Until that day, he woke up to knocking. Not in the real world. In a dream, he was back in his childhood bedroom. The window open, cold wind blowing the curtain. And there, his father, standing in the doorway, dead for 2 years. "Leave now. Close the door. Go." David jolted awake, drenched in sweat, tried to shake it off, but those words stuck in his head. He got dressed quickly and left home earlier than usual. Arrived at the tower shortly after 8 a.m. As he reached for the turnstile, a chill rushed through his body. Something inside him said, "Don't go in." So he walked around the block instead. Called his wife. Said he was grabbing coffee. Needed to think. Then, at 8:46 a.m., the impact, the explosion didn't seem real. Glass shattered. Smoke rose. Screams filled the streets. David ran toward the building instinctively, but the security guards stopped him. "Go back. It's coming down." He looked up in shock. The floor he would have been on, his office, was gone. He was saved by mere minutes. By a feeling. Or maybe something else. In the days that followed, David said very little. He was grateful, but he also felt guilty. He avoided the funerals. Deleted unread emails from coworkers who would never reply. Ignored the questions. Even the most important one, "Why weren't you there?" He couldn't even answer himself. But he knew. He had heard his father's voice. The same voice that once yelled at him to get out of the pool, just seconds before he would have drowned. The same voice that spoke to him in the dream. Weeks passed. Then came the knocks. Always 3. Always at night. At first, he thought it was the wind, or neighborhood kids. But then he heard it. The voice. His father's voice. "David, let me in." Calm. Tired. Sad. Not like a ghost in a movie. More like a man. David hesitated. Pressed his ear to the door. Silence. Until one night, the voice said something new. "You didn't let me die right. I need to come back." He froze. Remembered the last conversation they had. In the hospital. His dad holding his hand. "Promise me, if I ever knock at your door one day, don't open it." At the time, David had laughed it off. Thought it was the morphine talking. But now it all made sense. Whatever was behind that door, it wasn't just his father anymore. The next day, he found scratches on the inside of the door lock, as if someone or something had tried to get in. From inside, he moved, changed cities, but the knocking followed. Always at night, always in September. He sought spiritual help. A priest listened quietly, then said, "Sometimes the souls of those who love us try to return, but what comes with them isn't always love." David shared his story online, under fake names. Others responded, people who claimed to have seen lost loved ones, saying similar things, asking to come back, asking to be let in. One of them even repeated the same sentence, "You didn't let me die right." Today, David lives alone in a remote cabin. No neighbors, no internet, just a radio. He says he doesn't want to forget, but he doesn't want to hear anymore either. And every time he hears a knock, 3 slow knocks on the wood outside, he closes his eyes, says a prayer, and doesn't open the door. Story 3. The Dreams That Don't Belong to a Child. Chicago, fall of 2001. Hannah was 8 years old when she lost her dad. He worked on the 104th floor of the South Tower. An engineer. He left early, came home late. But every single day around lunchtime he called just to say, "Daddy loves you to the moon." On September 11th, she waited for the call. Waited until the kitchen phone rang. But it wasn't him. It was her mom, crying, trying to explain what no child should ever have to hear. "Daddy's not coming back." Grief hit Hannah in silence. She stopped playing, barely spoke at school. She began to draw obsessively, always a tower, always with a black cloud behind it. At first, her mother thought it was just part of mourning. But then came the first dream. In the dream, Hannah was running through the park, laughing, like before. Then he appeared, her dad, wearing a suit, clean, smiling. "Hey, my little astronaut, you okay?" She ran to him, hugged him, but something felt off. "Daddy, you're cold." "That's because where I am, time feels different." She woke up with her pillow soaked, but not from sweat, from tears she didn't remember crying. The dreams kept coming, each one more vivid, each one longer. In one, her father handed her a letter. She couldn't read it in the dream, but when she woke up, she remembered the first line. "If I could, I'd come back whole, but I only return in pieces." Her mom started to worry, took Hannah to therapists, priests, child psychologists. They all said the same thing: it's just part of grief. But none of them could explain what happened next. Hannah began saying things she shouldn't have known. Daddy's uncle didn't go to work that day. He missed the bus. Her mom froze. It was true. No one had told Hannah. Grandma hides Daddy's letters in a chest with a red cloth on top. Also true. Daddy's trying to talk to you, Mom, but you have to stop screaming inside. She always woke up at exactly 3:11 a.m. No alarm, no sound. She'd say it was his passing time. One night, her mom stayed awake and waited. At 3:11, nothing happened. But when she checked Hannah's room, she found her daughter sitting up in bed, eyes wide open, staring at the wall. "He wants us to stop praying for him to come back." "Why?" "Because when we pray too hard with sadness, he can't rest." The drawings changed. Now she drew him with closed eyes, surrounded by stars. But one stood out. He had his mouth sewn shut. "That's the bad dream," she said. "Why bad?" "Because he tried to speak, but something wouldn't let him." One afternoon, the school called. Hannah had a fever. Her mom picked her up. On the ride home, Hannah whispered, "Daddy's going to stop visiting soon. He's tired. But first, he wants you to stop keeping his clothes in the closet." Her mom went straight home, walked to the closet she hadn't opened since the funeral. His clothes were still there, his scent, even his wedding suit, untouched. Tears streaming, she folded each piece, put them in a box, and donated them to the church. That night, Hannah slept soundly. For the first time, no dreams. During the winter, Hannah began to smile again, to play, to talk about her dad without crying. But one thing never changed. She refused to look at the night sky. Why not? Because he promised that when he left for real, he'd wave one last time. And one January night, it happened. She called her mom into her room, pointed to the window. "There, that star blinking fast. It's him. He's saying he's okay now." Her mom, skeptical, looked up. It wasn't a plane. It wasn't a satellite. It was a star. And it blinked like it was answering. Today, Hannah is an adult. She works with grieving children. She says she understands the language of dreams, and that not everyone who appears in a dream is trapped. Sometimes, they just come back to help us close what we couldn't. And when people ask if she still dreams of her dad, she smiles and says, "Not anymore, but when I really need to, I hear him, whispering, 'Daddy loves you to the moon, and I'll come back, as long as you don't forget.'" Story 4. The Last One Pulled from the Rubble. Manhattan, September 12, 2001. It was well past midnight when Lieutenant Raul Santiago, a veteran firefighter with the FDNY, was finally pulled from the wreckage. He'd spent over 27 hours buried beneath concrete, steel beams, and the weight of everything that once was the South Tower. But the most shocking part wasn't that he survived. It was what he saw while he was trapped. Raul had entered the tower just minutes before it collapsed. He and his team were climbing toward the 78th floor when the first explosion stopped them cold. The walls shook. The floor moved like a living thing. Then, the radio went silent, and the world fell apart. When he came to, it was pitch black. He couldn't feel his legs. His helmet was gone. Oxygen scarce. In the silence, he began counting seconds, just to stay sane. Then he heard it. Footsteps. "Is someone there?" he shouted. No answer. Just the footsteps. Slow. Heavy. Like whoever or whatever it wasn't in a rush. At first, he hoped it was a fellow firefighter. But the sound wasn't right. It didn't sound like boots. It was more dragging. In the early hours, he tried to hold on to his mind. He whispered prayers. He said the names of his wife and kids. But every time he calmed down, the steps would return. Then came the voices. One of them was familiar. His father, dead 12 years. "Stay awake, son. Don't fall asleep. They haven't found you yet." Another voice was unfamiliar, but he never forgot what it said. "You're the last, and the last always has to pay for the silence of the others." Raul screamed. The dust shredded his throat. He wept, not out of fear, but out of rage. "I saved lives. I don't deserve this." The voice came again, closer this time, a hot whisper in his ear. "No one deserves it, but still we all pay." Time stopped making sense. Raul would later say he felt like the hours bled into centuries. At one point, deep beneath the rubble, he saw something. A tall figure, a man in a black suit, face obscured by shadow. Even in total darkness, the man looked straight at him and pointed. "You have a choice. Wait for them, or come with me now." Raul closed his eyes and whispered, "I'll wait." When he woke up again, he was being pulled free. The rescue team was shouting his name. A hand gripped his arm. But as they lifted him from the debris, he turned to look back at the dark hole he'd come from, and he swore he saw the man in the black suit, waving, not in anger, but in farewell. Raul was the last firefighter pulled alive from the ruins of the South Tower. It took months for his body to heal, but emotionally he was never the same. The nightmares never stopped. Always the same question. "Are you sure you waited for the right people?" He began seeing things in the hallways. Faint shapes. Smells of perfume like the ones worn by victims. Metal scraping across the floor at exactly 3:29 a.m., the time he was buried alive. His wife stayed by his side, quietly supporting him, until one night, she walked into the room and found him speaking softly to someone unseen. "He's here to remind me that even those who save still need saving." Raul only visited Ground Zero once. He left a note, handwritten. It read, "I still hear the footsteps, but now I know not only the dead remain. Sometimes it's the weight of the choice that refuses to die." Today, Raul lives in the Catskill Mountains. He helps families of fallen firefighters, visits veterans in hospitals, but he rarely talks about what happened beneath the rubble. Except once, in a 2004 interview. Staying alive wasn't luck. It was a decision. And sometimes, I think something else was down there with me, something that wanted to take me, but respected my choice. And when asked if he fears death now, he replied, "No, because when my time comes, I'll know who I'm going with." Story 5. Two Hearts and a Race Against the Unseen. New Jersey, morning of September 11th, 2001. Emily was 32 and 7 months pregnant. Every day, she took the ferry into Manhattan and walked to the North Tower, where she worked as an HR manager. She was organized. She had everything planned. The baby's name, the nursery colors, her birth plan. The pregnancy was smooth. Life felt perfect. But that morning, something was wrong. She woke up before her alarm. The baby was moving more than usual, restless. She placed a hand on her belly, and then she felt it, cold, not on her skin, inside, like something had passed through her. Her husband noticed her pale face. "You okay?" "I'm fine," she insisted. "Just a little nervous." She had no idea that morning would change everything. On the ferry, she couldn't focus. People chatted. The sky was a perfect blue. But she couldn't stop staring at the mirrored windows of the buildings. She felt like something was watching her. At the entrance of the building, nausea hit her. And then something new, a sharp pain, almost like an early contraction. She ran to the restroom on the ground floor, stayed there nearly 10 minutes, breathing, trying to make sense of it. That's when the plane hit. The building shook violently. She fell to the floor, arms wrapped protectively around her belly. Water started dripping from the ceiling. Alarms, dust, screams, then silence, followed by crying. But it wasn't a baby. It was her. She stood up, trembling. The stairwells were packed with smoke and chaos. People shouting, running. But something stopped her. Presence. Not a person. Something. As she descended, step by step through the smoke, she began to hear whispers, but no one nearby was speaking. A woman's voice, calm, soft, "Keep going. He hasn't found you yet." Emily thought she was hallucinating, but every few steps the voice came again. "Don't look back. He waits for the ones who hesitate." On one floor, a man stopped running. He turned around, stared for a few seconds, and collapsed. Some said it was exhaustion, but Emily saw it. A shadow, not human, tall, faceless, still. "Go. Now." The voice urged. She ran. At the ground floor, she collapsed, sweating, covered in dust, shaking. A firefighter lifted her up. "You're one of the last. Now get out of here." She ran outside with dozens of others. And then came the second explosion, the second tower. She stopped, turned around, and she saw it again. The shadow, reflected in the glass of a nearby building. No one else was mirrored, only her. And it, for weeks, Emily couldn't sleep. But the baby was okay. A miracle, she thought. He was born healthy, on time. But after the birth, something strange began to happen. Every day, at exactly 8:46 a.m., the baby cried, without fail. For months. One winter night, Emily woke in a panic. The baby monitor picked up a strange sound. Whispers. Not from the baby. From a woman. The same voice. Calm. Familiar. "He's still searching. But he can't find you when you're with him." She sought help. Psychologists. Spiritual guides. Priests. Everyone listened. No one had answers. Except for one monk. He listened in silence. Then said, "Not every protector is visible, and not every presence is a threat." Years later, Emily returned to the 9/11 memorial with her son, now 10. As they walked, he stopped at a name carved in the stone. Without anyone prompting him, he whispered, "That was her, wasn't it?" Emily froze. It was the name of a woman from the building's cleaning staff, one who'd worked on the lower floors, who'd gone missing that day. "She helped me. She stayed with me," he added. Emily never found an explanation. But today, she says 2 lives were born that day. Hers once again. And a woman who chose to stay to help. And the shadow? She never saw it again. But every time she hears the sound of dripping water in a bathroom, she closes her eyes and whispers, "Thank you." Story 6. The Guide at the End of the Hallway. New York City, September 11th, 2001. North Tower, 85th floor. James Cooper was a vice president at a financial consulting firm. A calm man, pragmatic, the kind of leader who always had a plan, a backup, an escape route. That morning, he was in a meeting with 12 executives when the building shook. The windows rattled. The floor vibrated. For a brief moment, silence. Then chaos. Smoke flooded the floor within minutes. Emergency lights flickered. Phones went dead. And the air thick with the scent of burning metal. Some screamed. Others cried. But James stood up. Steady. Calm. "We're getting out. Together. No running." He grabbed the emergency flashlight from the wall. Checked the door. It was open. But the hallway was a living wall of smoke. They moved forward, James in front, flashlight in hand, the others behind, clinging to each other like school children on a field trip. Through the smoke, they found choices, open doors, dark passages, sirens blaring. James trusted his memory. He knew the building's layout by heart. But at some point, he lost all sense of direction. The heat rose. The walls felt like they were closing in. And then, the flashlight died. Darkness. Someone sobbed. James tried to keep them calm. Stay close. Breathe. Help is coming. But deep down, he knew. They were lost. That's when something changed. At the very end of the hallway, a soft blue light began to glow. Not white, not harsh. It shimmered, gentle, almost liquid. And with it, a figure, tall, still, wearing something like a uniform, but the face impossible to see. The figure raised one hand, then turned and started walking. James hesitated. Did anyone else see that? Some whispered yes. Others were silent, but they all followed the light. They walked for nearly 15 minutes, through corridors James swore didn't exist. But the figure was always ahead, not too far, not too close, a silent guide. Eventually, they reached a staircase. They descended, through screams, smoke, and dust. More than 80 flights. Some fainted, others prayed. James stayed at the front. When they reached the lobby, the figure was gone. All 13 people survived. Over the next few days, their story spread. The man of light, the hallway angel. But James couldn't let go of one thing. He tried to retrace their steps, studied building maps, spoke with architects. None of it made sense. The path they walked didn't exist. There were walls where they had passed, no doors, and the staircase, destroyed minutes before they reached it. It should have been impossible. News outlets, radio shows, even documentaries reached out. James declined them all. I don't want to become a miracle story, he told them. But he did tell one person, his wife. Something guided us, but I don't know if it was human. Then the dreams began, always the same. The figure walking ahead, never turning around, never speaking, until one night, James caught up to it. Who are you? He asked. The figure didn't answer, just pointed at James's chest. He looked down. There was a blue light glowing inside him. He woke up in tears. Years later, at a spiritual retreat, a monk listened to James's story, then said, "You weren't guided just to survive. You were guided to remember." Today, James runs a foundation that supports disaster survivors. He says his mission didn't end that day, because the guide, the figure, still shows up. Sometimes, when I'm in a dark place, I see the blue light, and I know it's time to help someone find their way out. Some call it an angel, others a trick of the mind. James, he calls it a reminder. And when people say, "You were just lucky," he smiles gently and answers, "Luck doesn't wave to you," at the end of a burning hallway. Story 7, Seat 4C, Flight 93, September 11th, 2001. Todd wasn't the kind of man who cried in public. He was quiet, attentive, a father of two. He worked in sports marketing and was flying back home from a business meeting in Newark. Flight 93 was supposed to take him back to his family. He had chosen Seat 4C, an aisle seat, easier to get out or to run. At 8:42 a.m., the plane took off. Todd stared out the window, typing a text he never got to send. Today was harder than usual. I love you. I'm on my way back. At 9:28 a.m., the cockpit was breached. Men with knives, screaming, and the sentence no one wants to hear. We have a bomb. Sit down and stay quiet. Panic filled the cabin. A peaceful flight became a capsule of terror. But Todd didn't freeze. He looked around, spotted two familiar faces, Tom and Jeremy. They had shared a cab the day before. They exchanged a look. No words, but they knew. For 15 minutes, they listened. The hijackers spoke in Arabic. One was panicked, another too calm. Todd grabbed the onboard phone, called his wife. The plane's been hijacked. I love you. We're going to try something. It was the last time she ever heard his voice. According to survivors' families and call records, Todd organized a plan. For men, one flight attendant. They gathered bottles, trays, anything that could become a weapon. If we're going down, let's go down fighting. Before they acted, Todd closed his eyes. The flight attendant later said he whispered, "If there's anything up there, stay with me now, because I'm not ready. But I'm going to do what I have to do." At 9:57 a.m., they made their move. They pushed the drink cart against the cockpit door, shouted, threw things, fought. The plane shook violently, then silence. At 10:03 a.m., Flight 93 crashed into a field in Shanksville, Pennsylvania. No one survived, but the hijackers' plan died with them. Their target was the U.S. Capitol. The sacrifice was terrible, but the tragedy was stopped. Days later, search crews found something strange in the wreckage. A charred piece of seat 4C. Beneath it, still intact, a folded note. Todd's message, the one he never sent. "I'm on my way back. I love you. Take care of the kids. And if I don't come back, tell my story with faith, because I felt someone listening." Todd's wife turned grief into purpose. She founded a nonprofit to support families affected by terrorism. At every event, she ends her speech the same way. He wasn't a hero alone. He had help, whether seen or unseen. But the most unusual moment came years later. Their youngest son, age 6, woke up crying after a nightmare. He said he was trapped in a metal box, that the ground was shaking, and someone was holding him from behind. Who was it? "I think it was Daddy, but he was glowing blue." No one in the family understood the color detail until they visited the Flight 93 memorial. On one of the panels, a little girl pointed at Todd's photo and said, "That's him, the blue man." Coincidence? Or something else? In 2021, on the 20th anniversary of the tragedy, a ceremony was held. Survivors from other flights, first responders, and loved ones gathered. Todd's name was the last to be read, and as it was spoken aloud, a sudden gust of wind blew out the symbolic flame at the memorial. Except for one candle, the one next to his name, stayed lit. Through tears, his wife said, "He left the way he lived, with courage, and maybe with company." Today, some airlines no longer assign seat 4C, out of respect, or maybe superstition. And on very quiet nights, flight attendants say they've heard something strange from that row. A whisper, low, steady, determined, "Let's go, now." So if you ever find yourself on a flight and feel like something is calmly watching you, maybe it's not fear, maybe it's courage, waiting for you to act. 7 stories, 7 lives touched by something unseen, but impossible to ignore. Was it coincidence, destiny, protection, or something greater, something that whispers when the world begins to fall apart? Because when silence screams and everything collapses, some people listen and survive, and others come back to guide those who stayed behind. If even one of these stories touched your heart, share this video with someone who needs to hear it. And tell us in the comments below, have you ever felt like something pulled you off your path? Just to protect you? Because sometimes the world whispers, and the only question that truly matters is, are you listening